It's funny how love stories can start with something as stupid as a typo. Or maybe not funny, maybe cruel. Because the first time I realized he wasn't just my rival but also my undoing was the same night I swore I would never forgive him. Midnight, inbox glowing, my hands trembling with anger and something else I refused to name. Ethan Caldwell, my sworn enemy in the company, had just sent me another email. At 12:03 a.m. Who the hell does that? Who works like that? Except this time, the subject line wasn't about quarterly projections or market shares. It was something reckless, personal, and haunting. Will you say yes if I ask? I stared at the screen, my pulse hammering like it wanted to break free from my chest. The truth was, Ethan and I had been circling each other for years like wolves that couldn't decide whether to kill or kiss. He was brilliant, arrogant, and infuriatingly perfect at his job. Every boardroom meeting was a duel. Every presentation felt like a battlefield. I hated him the way a storm hates silence loudly, completely, with every ounce of my being. Or at least that's what I told myself. New York was merciless. The office culture even more so. We worked at Harrington and Lowe, one of those corporate firms where everyone smiled with their teeth and sharpened knives behind their backs. Ethan was my biggest obstacle, the one person standing between me and the promotion I'd been bleeding myself dry for. So why the hell was my inbox filled with half-finished sentences that looked less like corporate strategy and more like the scribbled diary of a man falling apart? The first time I saw one of those drafts, I thought it was a mistake. I hate the way you laugh during meetings because it makes me lose my place. Delete. Draft discarded. The second time I thought maybe he was drunk. Do you ever realize we're on the same side, even when we're fighting? Delete. Draft discarded. But by the third, by the third I couldn't breathe. If I told you the reason I stay late isn't work but just to catch you walking out, would you hate me? My rival, my nemesis, was in love with me. I didn't sleep that night. The city outside kept moving, sirens, laughter, the hum of the subway beneath the concrete, but I was frozen, stuck in the quicksand of his words. I wanted to delete every trace, to burn it from my memory, yet I couldn't stop rereading. The next day, Ethan strolled into the office like he owned the goddamn building. His tie was navy blue, perfectly matched to his suit, his hair a little too neat, his smirk a little too confident. I wanted to grab him by the collar and demand the truth. Instead, I clenched my jaw and shoved a stack of reports at him. You forgot to proofread this, I snapped. He raised an eyebrow, glancing over the papers, then back at me with that infuriating calm. Or maybe I wanted to see if you'd catch it. You always do. I wanted to scream. Instead, I walked away, my heart doing somersaults I didn't ask for. New York in the fall is sharp and unforgiving. The wind cuts through your coat. The skyscrapers loom over you like watchful giants. And yet every time I found myself alone on the sidewalk after work, all I could think about was him. That night, another email arrived. Subject: not for work. The body was blank. Just one line at the end, like a whisper. Tell me I'm not imagining this. I slammed my laptop shut, breath ragged. My rival was either taunting me or confessing something I wasn't ready to hear. And yet, deep inside, I already knew. I wasn't imagining anything. The problem with secrets is they don't stay quiet for long, especially in an office where gossip travels faster than the elevators. By the end of that week, I had memorized Ethan's midnight rhythm. The drafts that slipped into my inbox only to be retracted moments later. The half-formed sentences that felt more like confessions than errors. I stopped pretending they were accidents. Nobody makes the same mistake 10 times in a row. But what gutted me was how normal he acted by day. Ethan sparred with me during presentations like always, his voice steady, his jawline sharp, his arguments sharper. He threw subtle jabs about my strategies, smirked when I missed a beat, and leaned back in his chair like he owned the oxygen in the room. Every time his eyes caught mine, I felt like he was daring me to reveal what I knew, and I couldn't, because if I did, everything would unravel. Friday night, office empty except for the two of us. The fluorescent lights hummed above, and the city twinkled outside like it was mocking me. I was hunched over my desk, forcing my eyes through a stack of financial reports, when I felt the weight of his gaze. I looked up. Ethan was across the room, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, his tie loose. He wasn't typing. He wasn't reading. He was just watching me. My throat tightened. What? He blinked, as if caught in a crime, then smirked. You always frown when you read numbers. You'd think by now you'd be used to them. I rolled my eyes, desperate to break the tension. And you always find new ways to waste my time. But he didn't laugh, didn't shoot back. Instead, he stood and crossed the room slowly, like a storm rolling in. Every step made my pulse jump. When he reached my desk, he leaned down, close enough that I could smell his colonoscopy, faint coffee, something dark I couldn't name. You're different at night, he murmured. My chest burned. What the hell is that supposed to mean? He tilted his head, his lips almost brushing my ear. It means you stop pretending you hate me. My hands gripped the desk so hard my knuckles went white. I wanted to shove him away, to break the moment before it swallowed me whole. But then his phone buzzed. He pulled back, checked the screen, and just like that, the spell broke. I'll see you Monday, he said coolly and walked out. I sat there, shaking, hating him, hating myself even more. That weekend was torture. Brooklyn coffee shops, crowded subways, the quiet of my apartment, it didn't matter. His words followed me everywhere. You stop pretending you hate me. Did I? I tried to distract myself. Met friends for brunch, went for a run along the East River, even forced myself to swipe on dating apps. None of it worked. Every face blurred into his. Every laugh felt hollow. By Sunday night, I gave in and opened my inbox. Another draft was waiting. Not an email this time, but an attachment. My hands trembled as I clicked. It was a letter. Long, unpolished, raw. I don't know how to say this out loud. I'm good at strategy, not feelings. But every time I look at you, I lose my footing. You're the reason I stay late. You're the reason I keep fighting. And if this ruins everything, fine, but I had to tell you. I love you. Not in the way enemies are supposed to. In the way I don't know how to stop. I closed my laptop, my heart slamming against my ribs. Monday was chaos. Harrington and Lowe was preparing for a massive pitch, one that could make or break careers. Mine and Ethan's included. We were assigned as co-leads, which felt like a cruel joke from the universe. The morning was a blur of meetings, deadlines, and caffeine. Ethan was everywhere, his voice cutting through discussions, his hand brushing mine when he passed a document, his smirk lingering just a second too long. My mind screamed at me to confront him, to ask what the hell he thought he was doing. But my body betrayed me. My chest tightened whenever he leaned close. My breath hitched whenever our eyes met. And then came the boardroom disaster. The client meeting was packed. Executives in crisp suits, assistants scribbling notes, the air thick with tension. Ethan and I stood at the head of the table, united on paper, divided in reality. Halfway through the presentation, Ethan went off script. Our projections show a 17% increase over the next quarter, I said, clicking to the next slide. Ethan cut in smoothly. Correction, 22%. Assuming we implement the risk strategies I've been proposing. I froze. He hadn't told me about those adjustments. The clients perked up, intrigued. My boss arched an eyebrow. I clenched my teeth. That's speculative. Our confirmed data shows speculative. Ethan turned to the room, ignoring me. Or visionary? The room chuckled. My face burned. He was undermining me. Again. And yet, when his eyes flicked to mine, there was something else there. Not cruelty. Not arrogance. Something desperate, like he needed me to push back. And I did. Hard. By the end, the pitch was a battlefield. Our rivalry on full display. The clients looked entertained. Our boss looked furious. And I wanted to scream. When the meeting ended, I stormed out. Ethan caught up in the hallway. What the hell was that? I hissed. He shrugged, too calm. Winning. No, I snapped. That was you showing off. Undermining me. Again. His jaw tightened. Maybe I was testing you. Testing me? I laughed bitterly. Do you hear yourself? He stepped closer, voice low. Maybe I needed to see if you'd fight for us as hard as you fight against me. I froze. His eyes burned into mine, raw and unguarded. For one terrifying second, I believed him. Then I pushed past, my chest aching. I didn't stop until I was in the stairwell, alone, finally letting the tears come. The days that followed were war. Silent treatments in the office. Snide comments in meetings. Nights spent staring at the ceiling, replaying his words until I wanted to rip them out of my skull. But the drafts didn't stop. If anything, they got bolder. Every time you walk away, I want to run after you. I hate myself for the way I look at you during meetings. If you knew the truth, would you stay? Each one carved me open. Each one made me question everything. And then came the night that changed everything. It was late. Rain hammered against the office windows, the city drowned in storm. I was packing up when the lights flickered. Power outage. Just great. I fumbled for my phone flashlight, cursing under my breath. Then I heard footsteps. Still here. Ethan's voice. Low, almost gentle. I turned. He stood in the dim light, rainwater dripping from his hair, tie gone, shirt clinging to his chest. He looked human, tired, vulnerable. I could ask you the same, I muttered. He stepped closer. Maybe I was waiting. For what? For you to finally see me. My throat closed. Don't what? His voice cracked. Don't tell you I'm in love with you? Don't admit that every email, every draft, every stupid midnight mistake was me trying to say the words out loud. I shook my head, tears blurring my vision. Why me? You hate me. He laughed bitterly. I never hated you. I envied you, respected you, wanted you, and I didn't know how else to show it. The storm outside roared. My heart roared louder, and before I could stop myself, I closed the distance. Our lips crashed together, messy, desperate, years of anger and longing colliding. His hands gripped my face like he was afraid I'd vanish. Mine clutched his shirt, pulling him closer until there was no space left between us. For once, we weren't rivals. We weren't enemies. We were just two men, broken and burning, finally letting the fire consume us. That kiss should have fixed everything. But it didn't, because the moment it ended, reality came crashing back. This is insane, I whispered, stepping back. Ethan's eyes searched mine, pleading. It's real. I shook my head, chest heaving. It's wrong. We'll ruin everything. The job, the promotion. Us, he repeated softly. So there is an us. I couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. I grabbed my bag and fled, leaving him standing there in the dark. Outside, the rain soaked me to the bone. And for the first time, I wondered if maybe love was the real enemy all along. The storm didn't stop outside, but inside me it raged worse. That kiss haunted every inch of me. Not just the feel of his lips, not just the way he pulled me like I was the only lifeline he had, but the truth buried in it. It wasn't a slip. It wasn't drunken impulse. Ethan meant it, and I hated him more than ever for it. Because he had taken everything I thought I knew about myself, about him, about the stupid rivalry that had fueled me for years, and shattered it in one night. I avoided him for days, pretended to be buried in deadlines, ducked out of meetings early, even started leaving the office before midnight. My coworkers noticed, whispering, probably assuming I was sick. Maybe I was. Lovesick in the ugliest, cruelest way. But Ethan didn't avoid me. The first morning after the kiss, he strolled into the office like nothing happened. Coffee in hand, hair perfect, smile sharp enough to kill. But his eyes, they betrayed him. They were softer. They lingered too long. And worse, he was patient. He didn't push, didn't corner me like I expected. Instead, he let me run, let me build my walls higher, while slipping notes beneath the cracks. Not literal notes, but drafts. Always drafts. I shouldn't have kissed you like that. I don't regret it. You're avoiding me. That hurts more than if you screamed. Tell me you didn't feel it too, and I'll stop. I didn't reply. Couldn't. But I read them. Every word. The tension boiled over during another client pitch 2 weeks later. The boardroom was crowded, the stakes higher than ever. Ethan and I had rehearsed Separtolino surprised the rebut when it came time to present. I cracked. I stumbled over my words, my mind elsewhere, replaying that kiss, those drafts, his eyes. Ethan jumped in, smooth as always, covering for me without missing a beat. Afterward, our boss cornered us. Whatever personal nonsense you two are tangled in, fix it. I don't care if you're lovers or murderers, just don't bring it into my meetings. My face went hot. Ethan's jaw flexed. We both muttered apologies. But the damage was done. Rumors would spread. They always did. That night, I stayed late again, against my better judgment. The office was quiet, the city glittering outside. I told myself I was catching up on work. But really, I was waiting. And of course, he came. You're getting predictable, Ethan said softly, stepping into my office. I didn't look up. And you're still insufferable. Silence. Then the scrape of the chair opposite me. He sat down. No smirk this time. No armor. Just him. I meant it, he said. I swallowed hard. Don't. I love you. The words hit me like a punch. I laughed bitterly, though my chest burned. You don't even know me. His eyes sharpened. Don't I? I know you stay up too late, that you triple-check your work because you're terrified of failing. I know you get coffee from the place 2 blocks down even though it's more expensive, because you like the way the barista writes little stars next to your name. I know you carry too much weight on your shoulders because you think success will finally make you feel enough. He leaned forward, voice breaking. I know you. Better than anyone. My vision blurred. God, I wanted to believe him, wanted to give in, but fear choked me. Theseus, it's not possible, I whispered. Why? Because we're rivals. Because if we fall hard. Because I don't trust you not to destroy me. Ethan's face crumpled. For the first time, he looked fragile. Maybe I already destroyed myself. Couldn't take it. I stood, grabbed my bag, and walked out. The weeks that followed were hell. We became strangers. Polite, professional, cold. No more midnight glances, no more almost smiles. But the silence was worse than the rivalry ever was. It hollowed me out. And yet, the drafts kept coming. Quieter now. Sadder. I miss fighting with you. At least then you looked at me. I'll stop. Promise. Just tell me you're happy without me. I don't believe you. I never responded. I thought ignoring him would make it easier. Didn't. Then came the breaking point. The firm announced a merger. Positions would be cut, promotions frozen, everything reshuffled. Survival meant proving loyalty, efficiency, stability. Scandal was the last thing anyone could afford. Ethan and I were called into a private meeting with the partners. They praised our work, then delivered the ultimatum. One of you will lead the new division. The other won't. My stomach dropped. This was it. The war we'd been fighting for years, distilled into one final battle. But when I looked at Ethan, I didn't see a rival. I saw the man who kissed me in the dark, who poured his heart into drafts he never meant me to read, who loved me with a desperation I couldn't match. And I knew, if either of us won, we both lost. That night, I couldn't breathe in my own apartment. The city felt too loud, the walls too close. I ended up on the Brooklyn Bridge, the wind sharp against my face, staring at the skyline like it held answers. My phone buzzed. Another draft. I almost didn't open it, but my hands betrayed me. If you get the promotion, I'll still love you. If I get it, I'll still love you. If we both lose, I'll still love you. Because it was never about winning. It was always about you. I broke. Right there, leaning over the railing with the East River roaring beneath. I let the tears come. Because for all my fear, all my running, all my denial, I loved him too. The next day, I walked into the office with a decision burning in my chest. If the firm wanted to pit us against each other, fine. But I wasn't going to lose him again. I found Ethan in his office, staring out the window like he was already somewhere else. Caldwell, I said. My voice steady for the first time in weeks. He turned. His eyes widened. He looked exhausted, but when he saw me, something flickered hope. Maybe. I closed the door, took a deep breath, and said the words I'd been choking on for months. I don't care who gets the promotion. I don't care about the rivalry. I don't care about winning. I just care about you. And I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Ethan froze. Then, slowly, he crossed the room until he was inches away. Say it again, he whispered, like he didn't trust his own ears. I care about you, I said, voice breaking. I God help may love you. The dam shattered. His hands cupped my face. My lips crashed into his, and this time there was no fear. No running. Just us, finally choosing each other, consequences be damned. Of course, consequences came. They always do. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid. Because no matter what happened next, I wasn't alone. And maybe, just maybe, my rival was never my enemy at all. The Monday of the announcement felt like Judgment Day. The entire firm buzzed with tension. Whispers in the elevator, nervous laughter in the break room. Everyone desperate to know who would be chosen to lead the new division. It was the kind of morning where even the sound of staplers seemed ominous. And there we were, Ethan and us, standing side by side outside the conference room, pretending not to be shaking. He leaned closer, his voice low. No matter what happens, I don't regret us. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Even if you win and I hate you again? His eyes softened. Even then, the partners called us in. The meeting blurred. Speeches about growth, strategy, leadership. Every word dragged like an anchor in my chest. Finally, they named the new head, Ethan Caldwell. Applause. Congratulations. Firm handshakes. And mesmiling, clapping, pretending I wasn't bleeding inside. Ethan's eyes flicked to mine across the table. For a second, guilt flashed there. But beneath it, something fiercer. Determination. Like he wasn't celebrating at all, like he was already planning his next move. I escaped before the champagne. Wandered into the city, letting the cold slap me awake. It should have been devastating. Years of grinding, sacrificed weekends, sleepless nights all slipping through my fingers. But the strangest thing happened. I wasn't destroyed, because for the first time, success didn't feel like survival. He did, and that terrified me more than losing the job ever could. I ignored Ethan's calls for 3 days. Not because I hated him, but because I didn't know who I was without the rivalry. My life had been built on competing with him, on sharpening myself against his brilliance. Without that, what was left? On the 4th day, a knock at my apartment door. I opened it to find him standing there, suit traded for a worn hoodie and jeans, rain in his hair, a laptop bag slung over his shoulder. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I stepped aside. He entered like he'd been here 100 times before, even though it was his first. He didn't sit, didn't waste time. He dropped his bag, pulled out his laptop, and placed it on my table. I need you to read this, he said. It was a proposal. Not corporate, not polished, just words. Joint leadership plan for the new division. I looked at him, confused. They already named you. They'll change their minds. His voice was steady. If I walk in there tomorrow with this saying, I won't take the role unless you take it with Meth, you'll have no choice. I shook my head, stunned. Ethan, you'd risk your career? For us? Every time. I stared at him. At the man I once thought was my enemy. Now standing here ready to burn his victory just to keep me by his side. My throat tightened. You're insane. He smiled faintly. I know. You make me that way. We stayed up all night, drafting. Not as rivals, not as enemies, but as partners. He'd throw out ideas. I'd refine them. He'd push back. I'd counter. The rhythm we once used to tear each other apart now built something stronger together. By sunrise, the document was finished. Exhausted, we collapsed on the couch, shoulders touching, silence heavy with unspoken words. I turned to him. Why me, Ethan? Out of everyone, why was it always me? He looked at me like the question itself was absurd. Because you're the only one who ever scared me, and the only one who ever made me want more. I didn't answer. I just kissed him. Soft this time. Certain. The next day, we walked into the partner's office side by side. Gasps. Shocked stares. Disbelief when Ethan handed over the joint proposal and calmly declared he wouldn't take the role alone. Arguments erupted. Concerns about conflict of interest, questions about efficiency, warnings about appearances. We stood our ground. Together, and against all odds, they agreed. Reluctantly, temporarily, on probation. But still they agreed. We walked out of that office with matching titles. But more than that, with something we hadn't dared to claim before. A future. Of course, the transition wasn't smooth. Colleagues whispered. Some clients were skeptical. The pressure doubled. But instead of breaking us, it bound us tighter. We fought still. God, did we fight? Over strategies, over deadlines, over whose turn it was to make coffee. But the fights ended differently now. With laughter. With apologies. Sometimes with kisses stolen in the copy room. The draft stopped. Not because he had nothing left to say, but because he didn't need to hide anymore. He said it all out loud. And me? I stopped running. Months later, on a quiet evening, I found another email in my inbox. No subject line. Just one sentence. This draft I won't delete. Attached was a single page. No numbers. No strategies. Just words that made my chest ache. Will you marry me? When I looked up, Ethan was standing in the doorway of my office. Ring box in hand. Eyes nervous in a way I'd never seen. I laughed through tears, shaking my head. Only you would propose through a work email. He grinned. Old habits. And then, in front of the desk where we once battled like enemies, I said yes. Sometimes, when I think back, it still feels impossible. That the man I swore to hate turned out to be the one person who saw me fully. That rivalry wasn't the end of use, it was the beginning. Love didn't come easy. Came sharp, messy, reckless. But it came. And when I kiss him now, when I wake beside him and see the storm and softness in his eyes, I realize something simple. He was never my rival. Not really. He was just the proposal I hadn't read closely enough. The one draft that finally stayed. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.